Hello. It has been quite a while. I think it's been about a month, if not longer, because I did a live podcast with Crochet Creations about, I don't know, it's been several weeks now. We did it live on Instagram, so I kind of counted that as a podcast since we went over whips and FOs and all that good stuff. But it is October 17th. Recording on a little bit of a different day than I normally do. And yeah, I'm just gonna jump into it. I want to start out by saying that tomorrow it will be a year since I started doing this podcast journey. I still feel weird calling it a podcast. I mean, it's like a podcast format, but it's me just jabbering and showing things, so it is what it is. But it'll be a year since I started it. It began last October, so here we are a year later and I'm still doing it, so that's a good sign. I've tried to keep a schedule of about every other week, but obviously that doesn't always happen. We've had a lot of family that have visited over the last few weeks. I celebrated my 30th birthday at the end of September, so things have been really busy. Work's been really busy. My husband's work has been really busy, so things have just been chaotic. But that has not stopped me from knitting and crocheting, so we're going to start with some FOs because I do have some. I finished this at the, no, it wasn't the end of September. But, I mean, I think it was like the first week of October that I finished it. And that is my Superstitious Pullover by Michael Shawn. It's my first knit sweater and my first knit colorwork project. Don't worry, you'll see this again, and I'll put full photos because I can't fit it all here, but look at it. As you can see, this is the only float action you'll see because the rest of them are a little scary, but those look pretty nice, don't they? So I used Knit Picks City Tweed DK for the teal and the gray. I have like the names of everything specifically in my Ravelry, so I'll just do like the basics here. And then for the Sanderson sisters, because I couldn't choose just one, I know I've mentioned that before, but I'll say it again. It was a mini skein, a Hocus Pocus mini skein pack from the Little Wolf Knits. For the most part, my witches turned out pretty good. I mean, the two color work I feel like went pretty well for my first attempt. 3 color work I still need practice on because they're a little bungy, but you know what? I'm still very proud of this thing. So I made some modifications. I have that information on my Ravelry, but essentially it boils down to I made an extra long yoke because I don't like tight armholes. So I went, I think, just one extra repeat instead of what the pattern called for my size. And with that, I had to do some rapid decreasing on my sleeves. So I do have a little bit of a poof here, but, when I was doing it, I tore the sleeve out and redid it so many times, and on this last time I was kind of worried about how I was gonna feel about it, but I like it. I'm rolling with it. I'm still super pleased with how this turned out, and I think it actually looks okay when I'm wearing it, or it looks good when I'm wearing it. I like it. So rapid decreasing, and then I did they were kind of supposed to be 3/4 sleeves, but I think they're kind of more, they're like in between half and 3/4 because I wasn't 100% sure how much it would grow when I blocked it. But again, I'm rolling with it. I knew I didn't want full sleeves because I'm always just pulling them back anyway. So chopped it off early. I really like the way it fits. I didn't do like the spiderweb colorwork before the cuff only because my yoke is so long. I feel like the spiderweb is really dominating anyway, that I decided not to do it on my sleeve, especially because it's so short. I mean, it would be a lot of spiderweb. So Anyway, I cannot love this more than I do. I have worn it many times already, and I plan on wearing it many more times. And I will be wearing it after Halloween. You can bet on that. I will be wearing it all fall and probably into the winter, and it's so comfy. And this DK, the City Tweed, is nice and soft and lovely to work with. In fact, I'm working with it on other things too. So yeah, it makes me happy. I love this sweater so much. I see a couple of other people have been working on it too this spooky season, or have plans to, and that also makes me happy. I mean, I customized pretty much every chart that I could. Like, I mixed up the witches here. I mean, I just love how easy everything, all the charts line up with everything, so you can just swap in and out as you please. Like, all the witches are the same stitches wide. I think Mary is one row longer, but I just did a row of teal under Sarah and Winifred, so it didn't end up being an issue by any means. I mixed the spooky and the broom and the bat charts, so this is mine. This is my sweater, and unless someone intentionally ended up picking the same charts because those are the charts they wanted to, it is unique to me. So I'm very happy with it. I'm gonna put it away now. And then my second FO is actually in prep for one of my whips, but I'm gonna show it here because it'll be a good transition between the two as well. And that is my Autumn Duty, oops. I almost called it Autumn Duty. Autumn Doodle Cozy by Pacific Northwest Knit Design. And as you can see, I had quite a bit of yarn left over from this project, so I decided, since it was a DK weight pattern, that I would use some of it up to practice my color work autumn doodling. So I chose little ghosties, and then the fun kind of like checkerboard border. And this ended up being, the designer released a set of patterns on October 1st, I believe, that you can use a whole bunch of these charts for. And there's a hat, a cowl, and then this cozy came out last weekend. And it was kind of like a hack in the way that it can be used to practice swatching for at least the cowl. I'm assuming the hat too, but you can swatch in the round instead of just making something and tearing it out. So that is why I made this little guy, and I picked the ghosts because I decided to do the more autumn. I have a lot of Halloween projects going on, so I decided to go the autumn route for my cowl instead of the Halloween route. But the ghosts were just too cute. I mean, look at them. Look at his little face. So ghosts won, and that is because I have so many whips. I have no chill, but I've been working on, I just started yesterday, so transitioning to whips. It is my Autumn Doodle Cowl. Again, also by Pacific Northwest Knit Design. The ends are already out of control. But Emily of Crochet Creations and I have been geeking out over this pattern, and we knew that if there was going to be a knit along, that we would not be able to resist. And of course there was a knit along, so we're doing it. And this is my start of the cowl. So I'm using a combination of City Tweed DK, so like the background is tweed, which I love, and then this cream color is tweed, and then the other two colors that I'm using, and potentially three colors, I have Swish DK in this orange, and I didn't bring it because I'm not using it yet, but then there's a Swish DK in like a deep red. So very fall color palette. And if I end up needing a fifth color, I'm gonna throw in the gray because I still have a full ball of this silver color. So figured that would work well with these colors if I need it. But I'm really enjoying this so far. Again, I just started yesterday. I have one more round of this kind of pattern to do before I can start what the designer called Doodles, which is basically just sections of different motifs that, you know, go around the whole thing. It's going to be a cowl that is double layered, and then eventually, so I did a provisional cast on because that's what the pattern calls for, and you need the live stitches because eventually you're going to knit, and then attach the loose end to this end, so you have like a double layer cowl that runs this way, so the color work goes around. But I know the designer also has a single-sided hack where it's like a traditional ribbed cowl that goes over your head that has ribbing, and then the color work goes up this way and sits this way. So I'm doing the double-sided color work for funsies, and that is where I'm at. So I think I've picked out all of the little designs that I want to incorporate. And then I also ended up making 2 custom ones. I might drop one of them, but I added a section of little hearts. Actually, there's 2 different sizes of hearts that I think would look really pretty in the cream, with the red being the hearts. And then I've picked basically a mix of like leaves and the acorn and pumpkins, of course. And I can't remember which other ones. And then I'm really excited to play with the borders because they're just so fun. Like, it's just, I think 3 rows and then a row surrounding it in teal, but the color work is 3 rows, and look at how cute that is. So I'm very excited to add a whole bunch of borders and then some sections of solid color, and hopefully I have enough yarn. I bought 2 balls of each, which ended up being 100 grams of each color. So I know overall for the whole pattern I should have plenty. I can't remember how many it calls for, how many yards the pattern calls for. I'm just like working through the dark brown, kind of thinking like, I feel like I'm gonna want to make the dark brown one of my main background colors, and I'm just hoping that I have enough dark brown, so we'll see. I probably won't be using the dark brown for many of the motifs except for like the acorn one. And of course I'm gonna do the pumpkins in orange, the hearts in red. I drew up some mushrooms too, but I don't know if I love it, and if I'm working my charts and I see that I have plenty of room to work with and I don't need to add another chart in, I'll probably leave them out. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm just kind of playing it by eye, so to speak. Once I finish the dots, like I know I'm going to do the hearts next, and then I'm just going to I want to try and keep the background colors balanced. Like, I don't think I'll necessarily do like alternating, but I don't want the background colors to feel too light. I want a good mix. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that is that. So, of course, I will share the whip that I always have, which is the Tidings to You wrap by Amy Gunderson. And it's actually been a little while since I've been able to work with my mom on this, but we worked on it yesterday. And we even added a new color, so it'll really pop today. We just finished one of the large sections, so this wrap, if you've seen it before, is a combination of large sections and these smaller sections of pops of color. So we just finished this one, as you can see. Bam Red just got added. So a very intense red, and it will definitely pop, especially against this lighter color. I can't remember what I have after the red, but you can definitely see it. So I'm pretty excited. This is just getting like, this yellow. It's probably my favorite color out of the whole wrap. Just the tonal look. Gorgeous. So anyway, quite a bit is done. Some is left to go, and we just work on it when we can. So I know I've said it in other podcasts, but this is part of the 2020 Jimmy Bean's Craft Event, a project they do every year. They have announced officially this year's version, which is really pretty. I'm not sure if we're going to do it again, but if we do, I already know which colorway I want, so and we'll probably do the crochet version this year because, you know, switch it up a little bit, and I've been doing so much knitting. So anyway, that is that. We will definitely not finish by Christmas, but that's okay. Okay, so up next we have the Lift Your Spirits Mystery Crochet Along by Mandobug. So the Cowl is actually officially done now. The last clue was released a week ago, and last Friday was the end date, if you will. I ended up changing my mind partway through. I think I've mentioned it in the past ones that I was thinking about modifying it between the small and large sizes. Well, I decided not to. I mean, I really think that it would have been not easy to modify, but there are several different ways that it could have been done, I think. But I just really enjoyed working on it, and the beading, and the overall, and at that time, of course, I didn't know what the end result was anyway, so I was like wanting to commit to the full thing, and I did that partway through and ended up needing to buy more yarn because, of course, I just bought 2 skeins when the full pattern calls for 5 skeins. So I ended up having to wait on that, and that put me behind. But I did start the last clue this weekend. So I'm going to show you what I have. If I can find where I'm at, there we go. So it's a pretty large project, so I'll have to show pictures later once I'm finished, but for now, there's a ghost. I can't even remember, it's been so long, I can't remember where I was with this. I think I just had a little, I think I was partway through clue 1 the last time I showed this. So, the ghosts weren't even there. You have not seen the ghosts. But they're outlined with glow-in-the-dark beads. I think I'm showing the wrong side. I don't know. I am. Whoops. Oh no, I'm not. I think this is the right side. But I'll show you the end that I'm starting the last clue on. So, ghosts. We have more ghosts. And we found out that clue 6 is these little ghost tails that get added. So clue 5 actually ends after the arms of the ghost, where that guy is. And then the little tails get added on, and it makes a fun tattered in the good way, because it's very ghosty in that way, where you have the flowy uneven edges, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I still have, in fact, I haven't finished ghost number 2, and there's 8 ghosts at the end, so I still have 6 ghosts left, just a little over 6. So I'm excited to have this done. I obviously want to wear this at least the week of Halloween, so I need to get cracking. I'm trying to think. The ghost tail worked up pretty quickly. I can't remember how long it took me, but it worked up pretty quickly. I'm now running out of beads, so I haven't ordered those on the way. And of course I gotta weave in all the ends. I'm gonna block it first, which I'm hoping the water will dry out. I don't know, I've never blocked something with beads before, and I'm kind of worried about the water getting stuck, like it not having, I mean, I know eventually it'll dry, but I'm just hoping it doesn't get gross with having like water under the beads. But anyway, it is coming along, and it is very pretty and very large, and I'm glad. Well, I'm trying to think, I feel like I could have maybe got away with doing the small version because it would have stopped under the arms here, and this would have been like the ghost tail border. But it's still, I don't know. I'm torn. I feel like there's a million different ways you could do this, which is really cool. In fact, people are already chattering about, I mean, I guess they've been chattering all along about the different versions they want to make, but now that all of the clues are released in the Facebook group, there's people talking about all the different ways they could imagine modifying this shawl. And I think there's a lot of flexibility there. It's pretty cool. So anyway, that is my ghost shawl. So that's Halloween project number 1. Oh my gosh. I just realized I had another FO. So time out. We're gonna go back. I'm totally not scatterbrained at all today. I wrote it down under, where did I even write it? Yeah, I wrote it down under my whips, but I forgot that I actually finished it. Other than, I still gotta weave it ends. Okay, never mind. I'll count it as a whip. My brain is definitely here today. So, okay, yeah, I'm gonna keep it under whips, and then I'll show it again later on when they're actually finally finished. But in the chaos, I decided to cast on my second Fruity Feet sock by Drops Design. I'm lovingly calling it my dragon fruit socks because I saw this yarn from one of Sorella Yarn's collections last year. I think it was like some kind of London collection or something, but this was like a tea shop inspired. But I couldn't get it out of my brain that it looked like dragon fruit because there's like black speckling, and this, it's like the perfect dragon fruit pink, and then the white. And I thought they would make really pretty socks, so I paired it with the perfect green, which I think is a Cascade yarn. And I know I've already showed one, so it was a half FO a while ago, but I now have 2. And they're mostly even. And actually, I haven't tried the second one on yet, but the first one, when I tried it on, fit. I haven't had a pair of socks that I've knitted up fit as nicely as these, so I did the medium size. And I don't remember if I got gauged or if I just kind of went with it. I will say I did a much better job between needles on my first one than on my second one. I can tell which one was my second one because you can tell where my magic loop was. But I'm okay with that. The second one I also took with me to the movie theater and did my first time, it was my first time movie theater knitting. I usually knit while we watch stuff anyway, but I had the leg that I worked on. I got to about here, and then I was worried about getting too close to the heel, so I did quite a bit, and that only got me about halfway through the movie, so yeah, anyway, so there's that. I'll weave in ends at some point and have those back to share, but for now I'll leave them at that. I just think they're super cute. So now that we're back on track, this is Halloween project number 2. I'm trying to think if it's my last Halloween project. Yeah, because my Superstitious Pullover was a Halloween project, and that is done. So I'm also working on the Betwixt Shawl by Amba O'Brien, and I'm using some really fun yarn that I picked up at the Fiber Festival that I talked about earlier this summer. It was the first time I had been to one, And there was a dyer from Las Vegas, I think, Desert Panda Fiber Arts, and they were there with a super cool purple booth that caught my eye, and they had a lot of beautiful yarn, but two in particular caught my eye because they reminded me of Halloween, and I'm always in the mood to make Halloween things. So I knew that I was going to put these two together, I just didn't know what I wanted to do yet. So I have these two. I think this one's called Embers, and this one's called Nightshade. And they're just so gorgeous together. I love them. The perfect tones of orange and purple, and they both have black in them too. And this is a 3-color, well, I'm doing the 3-color version, fingering weight of the Betwixt Shawl. And the 3rd color is actually a sparkly solid black yarn that I dyed. This is the project that I don't know if it was the last one, I guess. It might have been the one before. I had dyed a set of 13 colors for. That this was going to be, at the time the shawl wasn't released, it was kind of a mystery when the designer started dropping clues about this 13-color shawl that she was designing for. And I decided that with the way the pattern was constructed, I wanted to save my 13 minis, or my 12 minis, for a pattern, probably still one of hers, because she does beautiful, like that's what I did for my Advent pattern with last year's set that I had. I did one of her patterns because she usually does color blocks next to each other with these really pretty lace details. So I have a feeling I'll just use one of her other patterns for it. And but I really wanted that set to be more next to each other. That's kind of the way I dyed it. In my brain, I was imagining them next to each other instead of the design ended up being more color work, which is fine. It's still a beautiful shawl, and the meaning behind it is really cool. It's like juxtaposing Halloween in Australia, where the designer's from, where of course this time of year it's spring. So flowers are blooming and you have sunny, warm weather. And of course here in the northern hemisphere where Halloween is in the fall and things are dying and getting ready for the winter. And so she's playing with those themes in this shawl, which is pretty cool. So I am gonna hold this up very carefully. I'm using that orange and that purple for the first part of it, which is this mosaic. I've never done knit mosaic before, but it's essentially a type of color work, I'm assuming. And this is the flower part, and I'm on my very last row of flowers before I can start the next set of mosaic, which is much more geometric. And then that will continue to be these 2 colors. And then the last part is a section of skulls. They look really cool, and I want that to be in my sparkly black because I think it'll look really cool, especially with a solid color. I don't want those skulls to be lost. So I'm gonna hold this up close right now. So you can see the variegated is doing some really fun work. I'm really pleased that my purple's still showing up okay, because at first it was pretty hard to see, but there's plenty of contrast. Like, you can definitely see the flowers even on a background that is variegated. And I'm just really loving how these colors are playing together. It looks so good. So anyway, I'm making some pretty good work on that, but I probably have I don't know how many rows I have left. I don't remember how long the next mosaic section is, but I know I still have quite a bit to go. But it's going well, and it's a pretty therapeutic work. Like, it's not... Actually, it's kind of like her last pattern that I worked on, where once you get into the groove of it, like, it definitely takes some brain space to get into the hang of it, but once you kind of pick up the pattern, like I still need to go row by row and say, okay, this is the row that I'm doing this, yep, okay. And once I do one repeat, it basically just repeats through the rest of the row, and you can use the stitches and the colors from the previous rows as like a way to double check, like, oh yeah, that is the stitch I need to slip, and that is the stitch that I need to knit. So it's a very, I'm not gonna say it's, anyway, it's a very easy pattern to like get lost into. I've been working on that during my lunch breaks at work, and it's been like, it's just been really nice to work on. I can't, the word is escaping me, but it is. I'm really enjoying the knit, so I'm gonna stop rambling there. I'm trying to think, since I got myself all out of order. Did I talk about everything? I think I did. Yeah, I think that's it. I was thinking this was going to be a longer podcast, but I also feel like I spoke a million miles a minute, which probably helped. But that is what I have. I did have some yarn that I had received since my last podcast, including my first Hobie purchase, which I was pretty excited about. But I have it tucked away in the closet and didn't feel like pulling it out of its hiding place from when we had family here, so. But that'll probably be a Make 9 project for next year, so I will definitely have that to share in the near future. Speaking of Make 9, let's see, I ended up finishing 5 of my 9 projects. The 6th one is that tank top that's on hold because I didn't order enough yarn. And it's been sold out for months now, so that's just on hold. And the other 3, I've kind of decided that because I really wanted to participate in some of these like knit-alongs that I jumped into. I mean, there was the mystery crochet along, the ghost one. The Betwixt Shawl is another knit-along, actually. It's, oh, I can't remember what it's called because it's a hashtag, but something about Halloween and knitting. And you can use, I mean, that was like the staple pattern of the knit along, but it could have been any of Amba's patterns, so there's so many to choose from. All the rules are on Ravelry. So that's a second project, and then of course the Autumn Doodle knit along that I'm now in to the end of the month. I really wanted to switch gears and participate in some unplanned projects because I feel like overall this year, like, I haven't done a lot of tests. Whoops, my camera stopped. I forget that it likes to stop at like 32 minutes or something random. So I haven't done many test knits. I've just done a couple, I think. And for the most part, unless it's been a small, like a super small project, I've pretty much stuck to my Make 9 pretty systematically throughout the year. So I really wanted to give myself, I'm not going to say the freedom, but give myself the permission, there we go, give myself the permission to take part in some of these events that you can't really plan for because you don't really know what patterns are going to be released and what knit-alongs and crochet-alongs people are going to announce until much closer to, you know, when the event is taking place. So none of these projects were on my radar, and it felt like, I mean, I am still going to make my Make 9, my Make 9, there's no doubt about that, and there's still patterns that I think are really, really great patterns, and I'm excited to make them, but I felt like it was almost a reward in a way, because I had been doing like very scheduled knitting and crocheting. So I wanted to do something that I don't normally get to do, especially because I've been enjoying the community that I've been participating with. And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I really don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my year. I say that like we have a lot left, but we do still have 2.5 months. And like my ghost one's pretty close to being finished. I need to have that done by Halloween because I want to have it to wear that last week. And then my Betwixt one, even though the colors are Halloween-y, I feel like it still has a very fall vibe, mainly because that orange is very dominant. I feel like purple can be a very autumn color, probably because of Halloween. So I'm telling myself that I'm going to wear that anyway, even though it will be done. It will not be done before Halloween. And I think the knit along for that goes to mid-November. So the designer wasn't anticipating this to be done by Halloween either. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. I definitely want my ghost one done. And then my autumn doodle, I think I'm just gonna try and have it done by the end of November. And then I'll still wear that through the winter. I don't care. Fall could go on all year long and I would love it. So I will wear that for as long as I can. And then I don't know, I haven't decided if I want to make Christmas presents this year. I haven't really been inspired to make things for my gifts. But who knows? It's still early. I say that only because I think it was about this time last year that I decided to dye up yarn to make my mom a shawl. So that ended up going pretty well. And yeah. So I haven't really thought about what I want the end of the year to look like. I could maybe squeeze in one of my other Make 9 projects for 2021, or at least start on it. So I think I just bumped my camera, sorry. But I will start thinking about my Make 9 for 2022, and I really want to be, I was not the best with buying yarn this year, so I really want to be intentional with the projects. I mean, that was kind of the point of my Make 9 too for this year, was using up things that I had bought yarn for and then just didn't really have a chance to make last year. So I want to keep that going into 2022. I'll probably start with the projects that don't finish from 2021, because I mean, I've evaluated them and I still really want to make those. And then I have several others in mind for what I want to add in, but I just need to narrow down, take a look at my stash, and figure out which ones that I'm really excited to make. So I'll share that in the coming months. Yeah, I'm not going to say when, I don't know yet, but it'll be sometime before the end of the year. I'll have that figured out. And even if I haven't shared it on my podcast by that time, I will share it on my social media on Instagram. So that is that. With all of that said, I'm most active on Instagram, and Ravelry is where I post everything that I'm working on. I have quite a bit of whips that are just kind of sleeping. Trying to think. Yeah, I just have a lot of whips going on. I mean, for me, I know that there's people who are like always working on a million different things, but I like to keep it. I don't know, I think I have like 6 now. I guess I could look at my list. 5. And I feel like that is starting to be my limit, because I'm kind of switching between them on and off. Actually, I'm less stressed about my Tidings too, because that is just a background project. But the others, like, I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed with the amount of whips that I have. So it'll be good to get the ghost one finished. I'm excited about my autumn doodle, but this is definitely, like, I don't want to have whips that are just sitting and waiting. So I think I only have a couple of those right now. and that's because they're just kind of long-term projects, or like there's one that I'm kind of meh about finishing. And I mean, if I'm working on them, I want to get them done. So I want to be actively, I enjoy the process of creating, but also I want to get them done so I can move on to the next thing. That's very much how I make. So that is that. Ravelry has everything, is my point. And I will leave it there because I've now babbled on long enough. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything you'd like to see from me in the future. And if you've already figured out your Make 9 for 2022, or if you had a Make 9 for 2021, I'd love to hear how you're progressing through your list. Talk to you later.